Now joining us, fresh off the debate, Republican presidential candidate Fred Thompson. Senator, what's your reaction to those results?
Well, sounds like I need to do a little lobbying here while I'm on the set.
I see. But actually, you had some biting. I was just telling you off the air that just some biting comments. I thought you had some good one-liners tonight.
I don't consider them biting. I mean, they kind of played into my wheelhouse. They talked about the Reagan coalition. I feel very strongly about that, and I feel like the fate of the Republican Party is going to be decided this year for some years to come. Whether or not we believe in that, or whether or not we feel like we need to go in a totally different direction, which I do not believe.
You really went after, at one point, Mike Huckabee, and you basically said something about him being part of the Blame American First crowd. Is that something you feel about him? Is he a Blame America First?
Well, when he says we have our administration has a bunker mentality, and that we have an arrogant policy, we went into Iraq with 16 countries. I wonder if they were arrogant. Things are turning out well there. He said that he wasn't sure he supported the surge. So he hasn't been totally on board the whole time.
Is he a Blame America First?
I think that reflects a Blame America First attitude that is reminiscent of the Democratic Party.
A year ago, we were told by the president there are about 18 benchmarks. 9 of them have been met. A year later, wasn't the idea if we don't meet these benchmarks, we have to talk about rejiggering our policy in Iraq, and they haven't been met?
The only benchmark is success. And
they mentioned 18 specifically.
I didn't. By any measure, whether you're talking about reduction in violence, whether you're talking about taking over Anbar province, we're turning the Anbar province over to our allies there. We thought that was lost. You remember Harry Reid when he said the war was lost? The question is, what are the Democrats going to say about this?
Wasn't the idea of the surge to give time for there to be conciliation among the various parties? There's no evidence that were we to leave that there'd be any ability for Iraq to govern, or that security forces would be able to do what we were told they would have to do a year after the surge took place.
That's like saying there's no progress in America if it's not happening in Washington, D.C. There's lots of cooperation going on outside in the various provinces. Sunni and Shia are coming together. Shia are coming to us that haven't been with us before. Take yes for an answer, Alan. We've had some success there. You're going to have to live with it.
Yeah, 9 out of 18, not the 18 that we were hoping we would need if we were going to.
I don't know about the Washington criteria. All I know is that we are winning, and it's in large part due to this surge and the new strategy that we've got that's being carried out so effectively. And we can start bringing people home later this year, according to our plan, as a part of a success scenario, and America is going to be safer because of it.
I want to ask you about the national intelligence estimate that also came up in tonight's debate. Do we believe the national intelligence estimate on Iran, or do we say we don't trust our intelligence agencies and we're not going to listen to what they have to tell us?
Well, people like you were very critical of our intelligence agencies when they were coming up.
Because they were cherry-picked to go to war against the country.
When they were coming up with conclusions you didn't like, you were very critical of them yourself. Now they're sacrosanct.
I was critical
of cherry-picking.
I was critical of cherry-picking.
Well, maybe they're still cherry-picking.
But 18 different intelligence agencies say the same thing.
I do not. It's not 18 different intelligence agencies. There's some representatives from various places, including the State Department. But let's assume that they're correct. What happened in 2003 when they say that the Iraqis decided to abandon their nuclear plans?
What was happening in 2003? You thought they were correct then, but you don't want to believe them now.
We invaded Iraq. That's what happened.
You don't want to believe them now.
Let me bring you over to the right side here for just a second. Here. One of the big lines of the night we're talking about these speedboats going around the U.S. naval ships, and you used the line that one more step they would have been introduced to the virgins that they talk so much about. To that effect, they got a lot of applause and a big line tonight. How close do you think we came to that happening?
Sounds pretty close.
Yeah,
sounds pretty close. I think that it was correct to leave that in the hands of the man on the job there who saw what was going on. Just pointed out, these guys go through a lot of training. You can't micromanage something like that from a distance. We've got to trust our people. I think they made the right decision. And I think the Iranians knew probably how far they could go, and the fact that they couldn't go any further.
Right.
We've got to be strong, but we got to remember that a lot of wars have been started just that way, with something happening to one of our vessels, both military and civilian, over the years.
Our own Frank Luntz has a focus group over at the Citadel tonight, and by far, when people were asked who they thought won this debate tonight, the overwhelming winner, they said in that focus group was Senator Fred Thompson. You have said this is it. This is an important state for you.
Yeah.
How well do you have to do in South Carolina to continue this campaign?
I have to do very well. This is home territory, and this is a debate now, and things are kind of coalesced, and positions have been stated, and so forth. Time to compare positions.
Yeah.
And I think my strong, consistent, conservative positions over the years. I'm the same man I was then. I'm the same man I am today, and will be in the future. A lot of these other guys can't say that. They've had to fit a square peg into a round hole as far as their issues are concerned and their changes. And I think people are looking for leadership. I think people are looking for folks that will tell the American people the truth, whether or not it's always easy to hear.
In particular, you went after Mike Huckabee's record. Perhaps maybe you think he's your strongest opponent here in South Carolina, but you said he had a liberal economic and foreign policy, and basically you're talking about Guantanamo, model of the Democratic Party.
Yeah.
Is this
Mike's a great guy, and he would without a doubt be a Christian leader. We all share a lot of the same values, but he has some liberal policies. Will take us in a liberal direction in terms of economic policy and in terms of foreign policy. We're talking about closing down Guantanamo because we would curry favor with other people around the world and bring those people here and wind up giving them habeas corpus rights and put them into our court system. You got your priorities wrong. And talking about our arrogant foreign policy, Bush has made some mistakes. We made some mistakes of the way we went into Iraq and the strategy that we had there for a long time. But now we're succeeding with a different strategy, and it's going to make for a safer America. And we all need to be on board on this thing and not, as I say, mimic the Democrats, who so many of them blame America first.
Go back. One last question. You brought up the issue of General Musharraf in Pakistan, and you made a line about polls and, not necessarily trusting the polls here.
Yeah.
How important is it that we not have instability in Pakistan, considering they have those nuclear weapons? If an Iranian-style theocracy were to take over with nuclear weapons, what a danger that would be to the world.
It's of utmost importance to us.
Yeah.
It's overriding importance. We've got various interests there. We need to make sure that they do what's necessary to take the point, take the lead in terms of the Taliban, which is still there. Osama bin Laden is probably still in those mountains in western Pakistan.
Yeah.
Democratic institutions are going to be required for long-term stability. But in the meantime, they've got nuclear weapons. And there's some radical elements inside, or friendly to the radical elements inside their government. Got to be very concerned about it.
All right, Senator, we're going to go back to Frank Lunt's focus group, which was very favorable to you tonight. Thank you for being with us. We appreciate it.